Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise adventure. And today we're in one of the most visited and iconic cities in the entire world, Venice, Italy. But we're not going to show you those normal tourist areas. We're going through the back streets and the quiet little areas and those little corners that most people never get to see.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month Ultimate World Cruise on Serenade of the Seas.
Well, we are, and friends, today we are on our way to Venice. However, cruise ships really cannot dock in Venice. They're going to dock in Ravenna or Trieste, and ours has docked in Ravenna. That's about an hour and a half to 2-hour drive from Venice. So be prepared for that, because Venice just does not accept cruise ships at this time.
Yeah, that's right.
And probably won't in the future either.
No. So you're really going to have to do some research here as you're going into Venice. Now, maybe your cruise line is going to offer you a shuttle or transportation.
Right.
Yeah, they might call it Venice on your own or something of that nature. But just be aware that you are going to have to make sure you understand how to get from Ravenna into Venice. And there is a train, but that you have to get to the train and then you have to, transfer. There may be a bus service. Now, we opted for private transportation that was booked by a friend of ours.
We did, because we are actually getting off the ship for 2 nights. We're going to stay at a hotel and really spend some time exploring Venice. So our idea was to get private transportation, and that really worked out quite well for us, that they were able just to pick us up right at the ship and take us right to our hotel.
Now, that was a little bit costly. I think there were 6 of us that shared a very, very nice minibus that took us all the way in. And I think for the 6 of us, it was, and of course, they also picked us up, and we are going to meet the ship in Trieste. So we're starting on one side to the south of Venice, and then we're going to go to the north east of Venice. And so for that whole round trip, or those 2 trips, I believe it was $600 or $800, I think, for 6 of us. So again, a little costly, but it certainly was worth it. The service was great. So where did we stay in Venice?
Well, we stayed at the AC Marriott, which it's in Venice, but it's just right before you get to all of the pedestrian area, all the canals and the staircases that you have to maneuver. It was very easy. Our driver was able to just drop us off right there at the hotel, and we didn't have to get a porter to take our luggage in, up and over all the staircases over the canal. So it made it really quite nice. And it was actually a little bit less expensive. Now, there are quite a few Airbnbs that are there in Venice. And so those are certainly an option for you if you want to stay right in the heart of the city.
And we did have some friends that did that. They rented an Airbnb with their brother, and they had some family get together, and they enjoyed it.
They
worked
happy.
out very happy with it. Worked out well for them. Again, there's lots of different options here, and as you said, there's a lot of those Airbnbs because unfortunately people are moving out of Venice
Right.
and they're turning their apartments, their houses into Airbnbs.
Right. There's not many people living in the city any
No.
longer.
And I think our guide said they're down to like 22,000 people actually living in the city now. So it's a little bit sad, because once the population has exited the city, there's just not a lot to support the city. So Venice has got a lot of struggles. We're going to talk about some of those as we go through this video and how they're going to move forward. Well, we checked into our hotel. I was very pleased with that. I was a little concerned being a Marriott. Is it, how's it going to really be? Are we going to get that Venice feel? But I was happy with it.
Yeah, good. I was as well too. Breakfast was not included, which that was fine.
Yeah.
We were able to go and get a nice croissant and coffee most places.
And we had a nice view of the canal out our window. We had a canal view out one side, and that was really nice too. But once we got checked in after our 2-hour ride from the port and getting checked in, it was lunchtime, so we went and found a place really just right around the corner and on one of the canals. It was very quaint.
But it was a very average lunch, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so.
the lunch was not good, unfortunately. And in fact, 2 of us, we got a spaghetti carbonara, and we ended up, both of us, having to send it back. It had a really,
soapy
yeah, it
taste.
almost is
Yeah.
like they spilled something in the sauce. It was bitter and it was just not very good. So, but they brought us something else and that was okay.
Yeah.
It just was kind of an average lunch,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So there's a bit of a pro tip. Really look at the different reviews, look at where you're at,
Yes.
get off the beaten path. That's our theme today.
Yeah.
Get off the beaten path and find something that, even though there's not a lot of locals still living in Venice, find the place where the locals would go. And honestly, you can get off that beaten path pretty quickly.
That's true. That is very true.
Yep.
Well, after that, then we decided to go into the city. We actually have a guru walk today of the Backstreets of Venice, and so we needed to get into the city to meet him. Now, just so you're aware, Venice is not very handicapped accessible, so if you have some mobility issues, be prepared. There's a lot of steps, and you're going to be taking them all day long.
Yeah. Well, how
Really.
many bridges are
There's
there?
like 36 bridges. I hope that's right. No, 472 bridges. So there's just a lot of stairs.
Up and down and up and down and
every
up
block,
and
it
down over
felt
the
like,
bridges.
yes.
So it's a lot of walking. Be prepared. Have your walking shoes on, and just understand that if you're going to tour Venice, Venice is obviously an area where you are going to put the miles on.
Yes, for sure. And as we were getting ready to meet our guru guide here, we still had a little bit of time, so we decided to stop and have a drink to cool us off a bit. It was hot, friends. We are here in June. It is hot, it is sticky and humid, and so we wanted to cool off just a bit.
And there's not a lot of places with air conditioning, but we did find one, sat and had a drink. So at least had a little bit of air conditioning where we're going to walk through all the back streets of the town here. So,
Yeah.
but pace yourself. Be aware, because the summers here in Italy can be very warm.
They
so,
can. And
yeah.
this guru walk is one of the longest ones. It's 3.5 hours. Now, our guide, he is actually a native from Venice, and he grew up in these back streets, so he knows them well. And he was able to take us to all the little different favorite spots of his. And the first place he took us to was what he called the Jewish ghettos.
Yep. And so the Jewish ghettos, if any of you are familiar with the Shakespeare play, or probably maybe some of you are more familiar now with the movie rendition of The Merchant of Venice, Al Pacino played in that. This is where that story originates from. The Red Bank is here. He showed us where the Red Bank was. So the Jewish banks, all of these different parts of Venice are incorporated into that play from William Shakespeare. And the important thing I think to note is when you hear the term ghetto, especially we in the United States or using modern English, we think of a very poor, dirty, nasty place. Well, the ghettos here were simply where the people were grouped, right? So the Venetians had wanted the Jewish people to run the businesses, do the banking, do that type of thing, but then they also I hate to say it, lock them in certain areas, but they had these entire neighborhoods where they would go there at night. That's where they lived. That's where the people were.
And they were locked in.
Yeah, and they had certain gates that they were locked in, but not just to keep them in, but really for their safety, to keep other people from going in there as well.
Right.
And then during the day, they'd open up, they'd go out to their shops, and they would run everything at that point. So that's how ghettos ran. But they weren't dirty, nasty places. They were simply the neighborhoods, and that's what they called the ghettos. So we saw maps of them. We walked through that different areas. And then, of course, during World War II, a lot of the Jewish people were, forcibly removed. And you can actually see bronze plaques in front of different buildings throughout the entire city that will show you where Jewish people lived before World War II. So kind of a very sad history, but it was really a good walk and a good way to start our Guru walk as we went through these back streets. And these are places, if you're just going to hit St. Mark's Square and the different churches and, the Dolce Palace, these are the kind of places that you really should seek out when you're in Venice, and find those locals, find a guru walk or something to take you into the back areas versus just seeing those top 2 or 3 sites that most people see.
Right. Well, another place he took us to was the narrowest street here in Venice, and boy, it would almost touch your shoulders on each side. It was really a narrow street.
Yeah, he took us through a lot of those, through tunnels, through little alleyways and gates, and yeah, and that was a lot of fun. And so we ended up seeing quite a few churches, things, and we actually ended up going to, what was the name of the
It's
church?
the San
Uh-huh.
Pantalon
Yeah.
church is one of the oldest churches here, but it has the largest canvas in the world on the
Mm-hmm.
ceiling. It's just gorgeous. This beautiful painting there.
Yeah, and it's quite amazing. It's actually made up and stitched together from 44 different canvases.
Uh-huh.
And we were so lucky because the church was actually closing, but we snuck in, just before closing and got so to see this amazing canvas artwork that's on the ceiling. So you would think it's a fresco, but it's not. It actually is canvas that then is attached to the ceiling. So that was really quite amazing.
was.
And go
Oh,
ahead.
excuse me. Well, we just did a lot of walking, and he'd have to take us kind of from one island to the next. And he said in order to save us walking a couple of kilometers, he actually took us on a gondola taxi. So this is something interesting to take note of. That if you're planning your trip on Google, Google will even note those gondola taxis. They're only €2 and it gets you from one side of the canal, of the Grand Canal, to the other side of the Grand Canal, and it can save you a lot of walking around. So do take note of that, and that was kind of fun
And
too.
it's fun. You get a €2 gondola ride, which the regular gondola rides are a lot more expensive than that,
Yes,
which
they are.
we're gonna show you here just a little bit later because we did take one. But that it's a fun way to get around the city, a little mode of transportation there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. Well, we continued our walk. We actually did pause for about 20 minutes, had an ice cream, and then continued this back street walk. Went all throughout the city and just really enjoyed the sights, the the multi-sensory, we'll put it, experience that Venice is. Now, one thing I think that we did note as we were walking, not quite as bad on the back streets, but some of the side streets, some of the main roads, a lot of graffiti.
A lot. I was actually really shocked at how much graffiti there was, seemingly everywhere. Really, is how it felt like to me. So that's kind of sad.
It
to see
really
that
was to
much.
see a historical city like Venice
Yeah.
with so much graffiti on it. And
Yeah.
now, one piece of graffiti we did see that's not graffiti but art, we saw the Banksy, the famous Banksy that he painted here in Venice. Our guru walk, our guide, took us down and showed us that, so you can see that as well. And so, even though I guess technically with Banksy it is graffiti, it's one that people do want to see. And so we saw that, and that was about how we ended up the 3.5 hours of walking around the back streets of Venice. A really enjoyable time, great way to see parts of Venice, learn the history of Venice. So we recommend highly finding a walk like this. Find a guru walk that's going to take you some other place other than the Bridge of Sighs and the Rialta Bridge and the 4 or 5 big things that most people go see, because you're going to see those anyway. Those are
Exactly.
easy to find, easy to see. Find something that's going to take you other places in Venice.
Right. Well, and I just absolutely found this tour fascinating. So it's something I certainly would recommend. And as we had finished up the tour, one of the things we asked our guide is, where is a good place to eat, since we only had an average lunch.
Yeah.
And he recommended a place that a lot of the locals like to go to called the Dolphin. And it did not disappoint. It really checked all the boxes. They had a great menu, and the flavor of the food was just spot on, and the service was delightful.
Yeah, the waiter was funny, and he really engaged with us. We had great wine there, and we had a good variety. So I ended up having what basically was a schnitzel. You had pizza,
So
a
good.
caprese salad. It was all very, very good.
They
We enjoyed it. So.
Finish it with a limoncello.
They did,
Which is
yeah,
good.
yeah. Which a lot of Italian restaurants will do that, and it was really good limoncello. Well, after this, we'd been traveling all day, from the car ride to going into Venice to walking for 3.5 hours, having a great meal. We decided, okay, well, let's start heading back, but we wanted to check something off.
We did. So actually, we have been, as you know, just kind of as a reminder for those of you that are new here, Mike and I had lived in Germany for almost 4 years, about 25 years ago. And so during that 4 years, we had the opportunity to get down to Venice several times, but we had never taken that gondola ride. And we said this
Part of
time,
it was we had 3 kids with us.
okay, that's true.
Now we're empty nesters. You
That's
know?
right. That's true. So we were going to take that gondola ride, and you can do a daytime gondola ride or a nighttime. We decided to do the nighttime, and it was so special. Now the cost on it was 110 euros for both of us, and it was for 35 minutes. So, and these are fixed prices. So, friends, when you go there, you don't need to necessarily negotiate. That these are a set price there.
No.
You can also make a reservation for a gondola ride if you want to have it at a specific time as well. But the nighttime, it was just beautiful. You turned on what Amazon Music had some gondola music.
Venice Canal gondola playlist. Yeah.
And that was very, very sweet. And so we listened to that, and just we would see lanterns hanging. The street would be dark, but there'd just be the little glow of lanterns. And at one point, I thought it was kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean. Where they're going through New Orleans.
The bayou
the
entrance.
bayou.
Yeah, it was.
That's what it
You even
felt
mentioned
like.
that. Yeah. So let's talk about a little pro tip here, getting your gondola booked. So as we mentioned, it was 110 euros for the whole gondola. So that was for both of us for a 35-minute ride. And of course, that is a little pricey, but it's 90 euros for a 30-minute ride during the day. So it is about 20 euros more at night to take the gondola. But we absolutely recommend the nighttime for a couple reasons. One, during the day, it is just bumper to bumper gondolas down these canals. There's so many people, so many tourists, so many day tourists, and the canals are just packed with gondolas, and it is absolutely not the romantic experience that that you have in your mind thinking about a gondola trip. And the other pro tip here is avoid the Grand Canal. Now you would think you'd want to go the Grand Canal, but it is busy, especially during the day. There's speedboats and cargo ships and tourist boats
Water
and taxis
yep.
and it is so busy. You're getting rocked and bumped and everything. And so what you want to ask your gondolier is you want to ask them for the side canals. Now they're still going to take you probably out on the Grand Canal for a little bit, but make sure, even if in the daytime, try to get one that goes in the side canals, not down the Grand Canal. And if you combine those two things, the quiet side canals with a nighttime tour, it just really, you can still get that magical experience.
Yeah, and it really was magical. This has been one of the highlights. I was just delighted to get to go on a gondola ride. So it's very neat.
Yeah. So hopefully you can see some of the pictures here, and we really did, and we really did thoroughly enjoy it. Well, after our gondola ride, I think our as we say in the United States, our dogs were barking, our feet were sore after walking miles and miles and miles in Venice, and we went back and got some rest, because tomorrow we're going to actually go out and
we are going to go to Murano, Italy. We're going to take a little water taxi over to another island where they do a lot of glass blowing, and looking forward to that.
That's right. So be sure to tune in to our next episode as it comes in, and we're going to share our second day, actually our second and third day. And in fact, in that day, we almost had a bad tragedy on our third day. So they're going to have to tune in to see that. Stay at the end of the next video. So we hope you enjoyed this. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the Backstreets of Venice, gondola rides, and our first day here in Venice. And we will see you again very shortly.
See you soon. Take care, friends. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.